Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson, and you are watching my walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Wii U and Switch. In this video, we're going to be working our way towards Goron City, which is on Death Mountain. Now that area is very hot, and so it has a bunch of fire enemies, so there's two things that would really help you in that area. The first is going to be a Blizzard Rod, which if you've been following along with me, we have several of those, and I was just talking about several locations you can get them in the last video, such as the Namaka Oz Shrine on Krenel Hills, as well as the very top of the Goma Sog Shrine that's on top of Hebra Peak. So those are two places where you can get Blizzard Rods pretty easily. Now, the other thing that would be super handy to have for this, or not super handy, necessary, is you're going to need the Fireproof buff. Now, at this point, the only way we can get that is by frying up some Fireproof Lizards. However, if you gather several Fireproof Lizards, we can use them to both upgrade that armor as well as get some additional armor for free. So getting a whole bunch of Fireproof Lizards is our current objective before we head to Death Mountain so that we can survive and also so we can get some armor. Now, to that end, Fireproof Lizards are kind of skittish. They do run away, so I'd recommend you put on the Stealth outfit. Otherwise, you can also eat some Stealth food to give you the level 3 stealth buff temporarily. Now, there's several different places in the game where you can get some of these Fireproof Lizards. However, just so you know, one of the best places to farm for them is at Gut Check Rock in the top right corner of the map. It's just to the left of Akkala, fairly easy to get to. You can just ride a horse straight over from Akkala, go to the left, and or the Ancient Research Lab up there in Akkala, that is. Then continue on to the left, and you'll eventually reach this area called Gut Check Rock and the Gore Tor Shrine. Now, from here, you can easily find some of these Fireproof Lizards. What they do is this whole area has like this island kind of, so to speak, and there's like a moat going around it. And surrounding the moat, there's like all this stone, and the Fireproof Lizards are found on the stone. So what you want to do is just look around for them. At first, just be really careful and cautious, and once you finally see one, then you want to take a picture of it with your camera. At this point, you can then set it as your sensor object, which will make them quite a bit easier to find. So, run around with a stealth buff, and so that you are quiet, and this way you can walk right up to them and without scaring them off. Now, if you run right next to them, like you're sprinting right next to them, they will run away. But as long as you're like taking it not super slow, but kind of medium speed, you can walk through here pretty easily without scaring them off. It makes it a lot easier. So I highly recommend the stealth outfit for this section or using a stealth buff. Now, if you want a stealth buff, you can get Silent Shrooms from Hickory Woods just south of Kakariko Village. That would be the fastest, easiest way to do that. Really easy to do that, and you get a really long duration for it. But anyways, run through this whole area going around the moat. Again, the Fireproof Lizards are located just on the outer side of the moat, so just make a circuit around the center island, and then you can get all the goodies along the way. There's a bunch of Sun Shrooms, there's Warm Darners, some Summerwing Butterflies, and also a bunch of Sizzlefin Trout in the water as well. Sizzlefin Trout is it's the most rare warm ingredient, which you can use to give yourself chill resistance, but it is only found in like hot springing areas. There's one area in Death Mountain where that hot spring like never has them, but everywhere else there is some. So you can actually see it on your map. Any of the lighter colored water is a hot spring. By the way, two cool things to know about hot springs is you can do two things with them. You can heal in them, and so if you're just sitting in them in general, they'll steadily restore your hearts. And then the other cool thing you can do is throw eggs in them to make hard-boiled eggs. There's no particular reason to do this, but it is cool to know that it's even a thing. So once you feel like you've explored the area pretty thoroughly and gotten most of the Fireproof Lizards, sometimes I find like a few of them are, I don't even know, it's like glitching out. It feels like they're in the floor or they're up on a hill or I'm not even entirely sure where they are. Sometimes when that happens, I would just say just abandon it. Just get the ones that are easy to find, then move on. Because we can come back here another Blood Moon, you don't have to worry about it too much. Anyways, when you're done getting all the stuff here, you want to warp over to Zekasho, which is like in the Akkala region, so the South Akkala Stable. So warp over there happened to be another Fireproof Lizard nearby, so I went ahead and grabbed it. And then you want to hop on your horse and continue on towards Death Mountain. Now the easiest way to do this is definitely to take the road, so just go south along the road, and then take a right and work your way back north again, this time towards Death Mountain. Alternatively, now that I'm looking at the map, it might have been smarter, honestly, for me to just go to Zekasho and then just sail west and get to Zadahaj instead. And then from there I can continue on south and go towards Foothill Stable. That'll probably be smarter overall. I mean, rather than taking the road is the long way, and I didn't actually gain anything by doing that. Sort of this weird juggling act, you know, trying to decide, like, how optional does a shrine have to be before it's too optional for this section that I'm working on right now. I'm trying to just give you guys, like, a bunch of warp locations and key places to farm and stuff like that at first, and then at that point, then we'll finally expand and start actually, like, going everywhere and doing all the things. But right now, I'm just trying to give you key locations, get you there as soon as possible, so kind of this weird balancing act. When you finally arrive at the outskirts stable, you can run around here. There's several Swift Violet, which is rare. Like, these ones are actually pretty low. They're easy to get to. But most of the time, Swift Violet is, like, on cliff sides, and they're really hard to get to, so it's kind of convenient that these are so close. But around this area, you'll find a whole bunch of Fireproof Lizards. I'm actually surprised that in this particular recording I didn't see any right now, but oftentimes I can get, like, 6 around outskirts stable just really easily, so I'm surprised that I didn't see any at this exact time. But anyway, so I wandered back and forth a little bit looking for the the fireproof lizards, even though my sensor was going off, but I didn't see any. I don't understand why. I must have scared them off, and I just didn't quite see where they were. But yeah, if you're trying to figure out places where you can get fireproof lizards, I would actually recommend this place. In my opinion, it is tied with Gutcheck Rock as the second best place in the game to get fireproof lizards. This is a really solid choice. They're often pretty plentiful around here. Again, in this particular recording, they're not. I don't know why, but usually I get like 6 just wandering around here. They're usually around the shrine on the other side of the road, as I will show here in a little bit. But when you're done messing around here, go ahead and inspect the Moakit Shrine. This shrine is pretty easy. We have a whole bunch of boulders rolling around. Now, most of them are stone, however, one of them is metal, so you can run over and you can magnesis that one as it's falling. It is possible, it's just really awkward. So you can try this. One of the things I tried to do is I tried to use stasis and then try and magnesis it right as the stasis is running out. Did not work very well. What's much easier is to actually go up and go to the middle first. Now, the best way to do this is just use stasis on the stone boulder. I've explained this in previous shrines, but basically you can only have one of the boulders coming out of a dispenser at a time. So as long as you stasis it at the end of its path, then it allows you to get past it. So, stasis is the middle boulder at the bottom of its path before it falls into the abyss, and this will prevent a new one from dispensing from the middle, which allows us to run through there pretty easily. I think there's enough time you could just make a run for it anyways, though, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, once you get past it and get to the middle, then you can stasis, or use magnesis on the metal boulder to the right, and then you can use it, as long as you just push that boulder aside, as long as it's not falling into the abyss, then it won't redispense anyway, so it's just fine. Anyways, you can take it with you if you want. If you go up the right side, you will find a chest containing some goodies, so grab that if you like. I think this chest will upgrade with the game as well, so it'll be a higher quality if you complete more Divine Beasts, but it only goes up to Royal Broadsword anyways, which, if you've been following along with me, you know those are actually pretty easy to get from Hinox now, so it doesn't really matter. That chest is garbage as a result, because we can get those whenever we want. So grab the metal ball and then work your way with it to the left side instead. You can use it to push your way through to work your way up towards the old bro. So next I just searched around the shrine. I find that the fireproof lizards in this area are usually behind the shrine, and then also a little bit to the south and across the road is the places I find the most plentiful in this particular area. But yeah, I think this is one of the nicer places to get them in the game. Super easy. They're really close. You can get somewhere between 3 to 10 of them in no time at all, and there's no enemies or anything. It's just super easy. And again, if you have you can see them really well. A lot of times they're kind of hidden, or they're around a corner or something like that, and you make too much noise getting up to them, so you scare them off. And I don't know, it's just nice. It's just easier this way. Now, here in a little bit, we're going to need some fireproof buff, which will allow us to survive in the Death Mountain area. So I recommend you grab one of your fireproof lizards and mix it with some monster parts to give you a fireproof elixir. What this will do is it gives you level 1 fireproof buff, which will then allow you to survive in this area upcoming. You don't have to actually use it, though. Don't waste your duration, but use it once you start catching yourself on fire here in Death Mountain, and that'll make sense here in a little bit. But make a couple of these elixirs, and that will allow us to progress in the next area without any problems. So once you've gathered all the lizards in this particular area, you want to continue on to the north. One of the things that I've noticed about the sensors, it seems like it takes it a little bit for it to activate, or it's still loading or something. I don't quite understand why it does this. But anyways, as a result, if you're running around on your horse, you just want to be careful to pay attention to the ground in front of you so you don't accidentally run over one, because one of the things about that too, your horse makes way more noise than you do, so it's very easy for you to startle them off, even if they're kind of far away. So if they're a little bit off to the left or right, you can easily scare one away when you don't mean to. I find around this sign there's usually at least one on the left or right side, or even on the sign itself, so I would recommend you get off here and just wait for a second, because it takes a little bit for your sensor to calibrate, and sure enough, there was one right behind the sign. So just check for all these things as you're through here, and you should be okay. One of the things that you'll note too on screen, I am ducking. I don't have to duck actually with the stealth outfit, but I'm just doing it kind of as habit just to show you guys that you need to duck, just in general if you don't have the stealth outfit. If you do have the stealth outfit, you can just kind of walk slowly and you're fine. One of the kind of conclusions I've come to in this, as in the past several playthroughs that I ended up implementing for this walkthrough pretty heavily, is the concept of just not going super far out of my way to get stuff off on the edges. If there's a little alcove off to one side that has a single fireproof lizard, it's just not worth our time, because if instead I just get the ones that are convenient, both as far as easy to get to, as well as a bunch of them in one area, so I get a whole bunch of them all at once. And then I just ignore them. I don't need to get every single one, because, if I just come back here the next Blood Moon, I can get all the convenient ones, and it's way easier, and I get more of them, and I just spend less time on it. So, yeah, I could explore all of Death Mountain and get every single fireproof lizard, but it's not worth my time. Along those lines, though, I do think some areas are worth it. For example, right now I'm exploring a little off to the right of the path, and there is several luminous stone and 2 fireproof lizards. So this one's alright. I feel as far as fireproof lizards, it's not too far out of our way, but we're getting some other goodies along the way, so I think this is a pretty nice spot. So, like, this is a type of location that I think is worth your time, but a lot of other areas aren't. Like, you know, I wouldn't explore every nook and cranny everywhere, unless you want to, but it's kind of like, if just getting Fireproof Lizards is your goal, I don't think that going everywhere that your sensor tells you to go is really the right course of action. By the way, one quick tip for you too, that I haven't really had too much of a chance to talk about this, but when you're fishing, one thing you can do is, I've been blowing them up with bombs for most of the game, but you can also swim directly into them if you're wearing the stealth outfit, and I'll show this in a moment. I swim around with the stealth outfit and then take it off, and if you look at my noise meter in the bottom right corner of the video, you can see that I make significantly more noise when I don't have the stealth outfit on. But yeah, for swimming, using the stealth buff either through equipment or food is actually a pretty decent way to go fishing. You can't, like, jump into the water right next to them because that big splash will frighten them off. And if you dash right next to them, sometimes that can frighten them off still. Sometimes it doesn't, though. But anyways, the stealth outfit reduces noise so much that you can just basically swim right up to them and grab them without any trouble. So it's a pretty solid way of fishing, actually. So if you are liking fishing or you're trying to do that a bunch, you might consider just swapping out for the stealth outfit real quick. I'm not actually sure how that works in swimming, though. Like, I would think that you would make the same amount of noise. I'm not really sure. Is there outfits you can wear that makes less noise? I know there's, like, swimming gear that you can get, like, say, having webbed hands, for example, that give you more, like, force because you can push more water at once. But I think, like, the total proportional amount of sound you make is actually the same per volume of water, I would think. I guess if you have less flailing you have to move your arms less total. You know, you're moving more water at a time, but you're not moving your whole body as much, then maybe you're making less noise because there's a lot of the unnecessary movement is removed, so maybe you're making less noise for that purpose. But anyways, that's the design of the outfit, not... Like, I don't know. I don't think the stealth outfit would do that. Is it skin tight or something? Because it's less rustling of clothing on land, but does it do the same thing in water? There's less surface area. Apparently Zelda was wearing spandex all during Ocarina of Time. We just never knew. So next, real quick, what I'm doing is I'm marking the location of some standalone spears that are out here that will reappear every Blood Moon. Now, these are Dragonbone Moblin spears. Now, as far as a weapon goes, I think these are just kind of okay. The Moblin clubs are a lot better, but these are just kind of okay spears. Honestly, there's not really a lot of good high-end spears in general in this game, and the ones that are high-end are kind of hard to acquire. They're a lot more rare than other weapon types. So up until when you get up to mid-tier, it's like there's a pretty decent amount of spears. Once you get up to like high-end weapons, there's like hardly any spears at all. Anyways, this is a Dragonbone one, which means that it scales with the bone sets. So if you want to wear the Radiant Armor or the Phantom Ganon set, then you can use these weapons. So if you really want to use spear, if you really like using bone weapons, and you're planning for the extra bonus, and you want to use a spear because they're kind of rare and they're hard to find, then these are some locations you can grab that will reappear every Blood Moon. This area is also fairly close to a tower, which means that you can warp to the tower and then you can just sail to the east and then grab these real quick and then warp back to the tower and try again. There is a nearby Guardian Stalker, but as long as you like warp away as soon as you grab the weapon, then you're good to go. And so it's not really that dangerous, and as a result, you can get some decent weapons if you're going for that spec. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, basically while wearing the Radiant set or the Phantom Ganon set, you do 80% more damage with bone weapons. But bone weapons are kind of hard to find, especially some of the more obscure ones. So this is a great example of one that's really difficult to find in general in the game. So, as a result, because you do 80% more damage with bone weapons, it means that this, instead of doing 15, will do 27 damage, which 27 damage for a spear is really good, because it's like bam, 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 bam. That's a lot of damage in quick succession. So, the downside to it, though, too, in particular, is that bone weapons don't have, like, the highest durability in the world, so they do wear out pretty quickly. So I'm just continuing along the obvious path. There is some of the Guardian Stalkers along the way, which are pretty rough, so you can sneak past them if you like to. I'm using the terrain to my advantage to avoid them for the most part. You can kill them if you want, but it is a little bit awkward. The best way to do that would probably be to use a shield bash to reflect their attacks back at them. But I don't really feel like it's worth the time right now. Part of the reason for that is we just don't have a lot of health right now. They'll be a lot easier to deal with once we have some more HP. But continuing onwards, you might be thinking to yourself this entire walkthrough, you're like, man, Blizzard Rods are so OP. Like, I don't know if I've seen such an overpowered weapon. Well, it just got more overpowered because everything in this area pretty much dies in one hit to it. So, if you like, you can kill some of these guys with bombs. That would be one way to do it. But otherwise, the Blizzard Rod just kind of murders everything here because they're all fire enemies and they die in one hit to anything frost. Along the way, there's a bunch of luminous stone as well as a few rare gems as well. You can get some rare veins in here that give you rare gems, so I'd recommend you get those in particular. Now, there is also a bunch of chews here. Now, I know a lot of you might be excited thinking to yourself, like, oh man, I can get a whole bunch of elemental chew jelly here. This is awesome. And you get it really fast. If you're using a Blizzard Rod in particular, you're just like, pew, when you kill all these red shoes, like, instantaneously, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. I am killing them in this recording just to show, like, a way you can do this or whatever, and I'm showing, like, if you didn't have a Blizzard Rod is kind of what I'm trying to show. But, as a comment, just so you know, like, you can make regular Chew Jelly into whatever element or any Chew Jelly color, actually. You can change any color back and forth, except you can't change it back into regular, is the one problem, I suppose. You can change it from anything else. Yeah, you can change any Chew Jelly into any other Chew Jelly except for regular. And you can change regular into any other element, but you can't change it back. So as long as you have a bunch of regular, then you're good to go and you can do anything you want. Although regular isn't actually, like, used for hardly anything as far as upgrades go anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I would recommend in general, like, don't worry about trying to get a whole bunch here because it's kind of irrelevant because you can make elemental Chew Jelly whenever you want. At some point, you'll come to a warning sign that says that the heat level is star, bum bum bum, meaning 1 star. So you need level 1 fireproof buff in order to continue on with the next area, because there's extreme heat. Now, ironically enough, this is not the same thing as heat resistance, so you don't need a cold ingredient. In fact, like, if you look at my temperature, it says that it's super cold. But we will catch on fire here. I do find this all so strange. We're, like, walking right next to lava, and yet my temperature is really low. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you walk through the desert, and you're gonna die. You walk into a volcano, and you're fine. Like, what? Anyways, continuing onwards, you don't have to use the fireproof buff just yet. We will use it here in a little while. Now, up ahead, there is another one of those Guardian Stalkers. Now, you can either confront it head-on, or you can try and avoid it. The easiest way to avoid it is just stay off to the left side and kind of climb along the hill. As long as you kind of keep it out of its line of sight, or if it does see you quickly duck behind a hill, then it shouldn't be that much of a problem for you. As a quick comment, there are some veins of ore here that you can smack as well. I don't really think they're super worth it, though, because a lot of the ore will just go flying off the hill anyways, and there's better places to farm it anyway. So if you want to, as long as we're passing by, like, go for it, but I don't really think it's worth your time. However, these ones aren't on the cliffside, and there's a rare one there. Apparently it only dropped a topaz, was the only rare thing that it gave me, though, which is alright, like, whatever. So at this point in the recording, I did something really silly. I was following notes and stuff, but I somehow neglected to make fireproof elixirs, which I was planning to, and so, whoops, big mistake. I told you guys to do it in the video, but I didn't do it during the recording. So anyways, at this point I realized how silly that was. I decided to run forward and go ahead and kill the red Lizalfos, because you can kill them instantly with a Blizzard Rod, because I wanted the red Lizalfos tail. But it's fine, whatever. I was planning on climbing up Death Mountain multiple times anyways to show a couple different ways to do it, so it's fine. Now, something kind of fun you can do here, so I don't really think it's a good idea, but you can, is run through here with a horse. It only works for the first half, and the Guardian Stalker is definitely the biggest threat for this. Unfortunately, you can't really summon the horse past the Guardian Stalker very well, so you have to bring your horse ahead of time if you want to climb Death Mountain with it, but again, it only works for the first little bit. So, what you do is, I was trying to, like, just sneak up on it. Hopefully it was turned around the entire time, and I could, like, swerve past it and then try and avoid the lasers after that, but it saw me coming ahead of time way in advance, so that did not work at all. So I abandoned my plan, ran off to the left because I was panicking, trying to break line of sight to reset its attack animation, and then I decided to turn around and face it head on. So just so you know, with Guardian Stalkers, if you run at them with a horse and hit them with a weapon, ideally a one-hander because it's pretty fast, it's actually pretty effective. It's actually kind of a fun way to initiate combat with them, because especially in like Hyrule Field when you're in those big open areas, assuming you can get up to them in the first place though, but if you can knock them over like that, just press X to hop off your horse and you can immediately start attacking their legs before they have a chance to retaliate. And then like by the time they flip over again, then you've already knocked off one of their legs and they're like stunned and it's over. I could have actually killed that one fairly easily, but I didn't want to like assume that everybody should be able to do that. Anyways, up ahead, I'm just showing what it would be like to just run through here with a horse if you were going to ignore all the enemies and just skip past them. If you do this on your horse, it's like super easy. You can get past all these guys no problem. Not that this area is all that hard anyways, and if it really came down to it, you could just avoid the main path and just climb instead. Now, unlike the last time I came this way, I'm going to just swerve a little bit lower instead, and so that the Guardian Stalker never sees me at all. But there is actually some veins over here, and sometimes there's even some rare ones, so I actually got some diamonds over here, which is kind of nice. So this is a little bit lower. It does require a smidge more climbing, but again, you can see like there's the lower path right below me. I could have just climbed here in the first place, and it would have been fine. It does take a little bit of stamina, but all well, you know, put on some climbing gear, eat some stamina food, like whatever. You can just ignore all of the Guardian Stalkers entirely. I know this area can be a little bit confusing because we're like rotating back and forth and there's all this vertical movement, but our goal is to get to the highest point right here on this edge where there is the tower. So you want to access the tower as soon as possible, which will give us vision of this area. Now at this point, unfortunately, is when you're going to need the fireproof buff, which is really sad because the tower is just right there. It's so close, and yet you're going to die if you don't have this. So you want to chug down one of those fireproof elixirs, which I got by mixing up one of those fireproof lizards, and a whole bunch of monster parts. So you should have one of those pretty easily as I instructed you. Now again, though I did record this twice and I forgot it the first time because I was silly and just was ignoring my notes. But anyways, if you don't have a fireproof elixir, you can just kind of just suffer through it and try and make a run for the tower. It's pretty awful though, but you're like suffering an extreme, excruciating, burny, screamy death for no reason. But I think it even ramps up too. It starts out not too bad, and then it's just like gets out of control real fast and you start taking damage. So just munch on things like crazy and just snack on junk food the whole way. Like, I swear, like, Link's intestines are going to be shot by the end of this game. As a quick side note, you do have to take off any wooden weapons you have, otherwise they'll burst into flame in this zone, but you can totally use metal weapons. That's okay. I don't know about you guys, but to me, the idea of being in a scorching oven of a zone and wearing, and like holding a metal weapon in my hand does not sound pleasant. That sounds like a bad idea. A recipe for disaster right there. Speaking of recipes, though, my brother was actually a chef for many years, and he was telling me how he's like, oh, I can like lift. I remember I was trying to pick up something that was really hot, and he just picks it up. I'm like, what? Whoa, dude, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's like we pick up like really hot plates all the time because we use heat to with our dishwashers and stuff. So we just blast it with really hot water, like at a bazillion degrees. And so I just take it right out of the dishwasher. We have to do it all the time. We just put food right on it, take it right out of the customer. It's great. It's like, so I burned off all the nerves in my fingertips a long time ago, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. I can touch hot stuff all I want. I'm like, whoa, that's not okay. Like, this conversation makes me uncomfortable on multiple levels here. Like, oh, not okay. So maybe it's kind of like that. The price of being a hero, right? Then again, Link does cook in this game, so maybe it's exactly like that. All right, Eldin Tower, which encompasses Death Mountain. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like this area doesn't really have a lot of great farming locations anyway. It's very specific in what it offers. So, what do we have here? First of all, this is the best place in the game by far to get Dragonbone Moblin Spears. I just point that out more so because it's rare. I don't think these are like the greatest items in the world, but if you are going for a bone build, because you're going to be using the Radiant set or the Phantom Ganon set, then this can be kind of cool. So I'm just showing the pins so you can place them real quick if you want to do so. So if you really want to use spears and you're going for a bone build, this is kind of awesome. Now they don't have a lot of durability, but they will reappear every blood moon, and it's really easy. Warp to the tower. Sail over, drop down, pick him up. The stalker will very likely see you, so he'll start chasing after you or trying to shoot you. And you can just warp away and then do it again. And then sail over here, drop down, pick it up, warp away. Boom, you're done. Pretty safe, very easy. You can get those every blood moon. Awesome. Quick comment, there is all this teal colored water is all hot springs. So this is regular water and it's lower, and then this is all hot stuff. So you can heal yourself in it. You can make hard-boiled eggs if you want to. There's no particular reason to do that. You can also, this is the only places in the game where you can find Sizzlefin Trout. Super rare warm ingredient. There's no particular reason to get those. Sun shrooms are definitely easier to farm, and you can get, they're far more plentiful, and there's no real reason not to use sun shrooms, I guess. I just pointing these out more so because it's rare. So if you're wanting them for your compendium, this is where you find them. It's just any kind of hot springy area. That being said, this is, I think, the easiest place to get them by far. Gutcheck Rock is not necessarily the best place to farm for any particular ingredient, but there's a wide variety of stuff here. It's pretty easy. So you warp here. It's just you get here from Makala is the easiest way to get here. Go across here. Boom. There you go. Warp point. Awesome. You can get sun shrooms, fireproof lizards, and warm darners here in general, and also Sizzlefin Trout. I think the most useful thing here is definitely going to be the fact that you can get fireproof lizards here. This is the second best place in the game to get them, in my opinion. So, other fireproof lizards, though. The best place in the game is definitely here at Southern Mine. So you go here, there's like, I don't know, something like 12 to 18 of them here pretty easily. And they're also under rocks, by the way. Pick up rocks. So you go through here with stealth outfit ideally, and then have a fireproof buff, or other way around, whatever, wear fireproof gear, and then just eat a stealth buff to make it really easy for you. But just run through here, collect them all, pick up all the rocks, grab them too. There's a few on this side, but mostly they're just here in this whole area, and it's great. So yeah, get, so my recommendation would be go to Eldin, go over here. This little hot spring area, this water is not deep enough for there to be any Sizzlefin Trout, but you can get some fireproof lizards here, and also Smotherwing butterflies. Because Smotherwing butterflies are so hard to get, that is by far the hardest ingredient in this whole area to get, is Smotherwing butterflies. And they're awkward. People are always like, where do I find these stupid things? So this is one of the locations. There's only like 2 or 3 here at any given time, but they reappear every blood moon. They're super easy. There's only one enemy. You just kill it with a ice weapon, and then poof, you get a red Lizalfos tail. Super easy, like whatever. So warp here. Boom, get all these. Get the fireproof lizards, get the Smotherwing butterflies. You're good to go. Hop down here if you want to. You can get all these. This road right here is, in my opinion, the best place in the game to get Smotherwing butterflies. By the way, according to online, they're only available between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So what I'd recommend you do is throw down some fire to change the time of day and to reset the area and set the time of day to noon. Because if you set it for morning, then it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever it is, and it's too early. So if you set it to noon, then you're guaranteed that you're between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So I would recommend you go to Goron City, be like, the first time you come here, definitely be like, bam, 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 it's awesome. You can get all those goodies. So you get fireproof lizards here, down here, you get smotherwing butterflies there and there. And usually, in my experience anyways, I get somewhere between 2 and like 8 smotherwing butterflies here. There's also, there tends to be one right up here, by the way. And they're also like, I don't even know exactly which cliff face, but like, say like right there, for example. Sometimes your sensor will be going off when you're right here, but it's like, it's kind of awkward to get to. You could like sail there, grab it, and then like warp away again, but it's kind of awkward. The second best place to get smotherwing butterflies in the game is over here. The problem is, like, there's so many enemies and stuff, they get frightened off so easily. Like, anything happens and you scare them off, or you accidentally hit them with something, or explosion, or whatever, it's just bad. So, or you use that, you know, lizard rod and you knock them all out that way. Ooh. So, otherwise, though, I think what's safer, if you really wanted to do that, is actually just go along the outside. They're just so infrequent, though, I don't know. The nice thing about it, though, is there's, like, no enemies over here, so you just run along all this and get all these, and it's kind of nice. Kind of. It's pretty far out of your way, though. There's a lot of climbing, it's kind of boring, it's, like, not very exciting at all. So, very infrequent, so I think this area is way better. So if you're not in a hurry, you can just get them every blood moon. And speaking of which, you can also buy them. Overall, that is the easiest way to get them, and you get them from Beetle at East Akala Stable, I want to say, and also at Wetland Stable. Yeah, Wetland Stable and East Akala Stable. You can buy them for 10 rupees a piece, and each beetle has 3 of them. So 3 here, 3 there, get 6, boom, you only need 24 total for the game. So there you go. So if you do that, if you go here and go there every blood moon, you'll probably in just 2 passes, or 2 blood moons, you know, you'll get everything you need for the entire game, which is great. Alright, the last area worth talking about is over here, next to the Elden Great Skeleton. So you go ahead and pin this if you want to. This is the second best place in the game to farm for Dinraal horns. So, which is one of the dragons, by the way. As long as you're here, you should take a picture of the Great Skeleton. So that's one of the things you need for one of the quests, which would be super nice. So, warp to the Gutcheck Rock Tower at Gutcheck Rock Shrine, which is Gortor. Sail over here. Sail down the mountainside, which here, by the way, there's a bunch of luminous stone. Hit them with a melee weapon so the ore doesn't go flying, but grab those on the way down, as long as you're here. Take a picture of the skeleton. How this works, and you can also, by the way, there is a great flame blade here. I don't think this is a good place to get one because there's lots of enemies here, and you might have to kill all the enemies, unless you want to sneak up on them or freeze them or something. It's just kind of like, I don't think it's super worth it. So grab it if you want to, but meh. Anyways, place a chunk of wood here. I think maybe you have to be further back. I think people told me you couldn't be too close. But anyways, place a fire over here or something, whatever. And what'll happen is make it morning, and then Dinraal will appear from the sky. So it appears really high up, and then it steadily works its way down, then finally it sails across over here and goes like down through this canyon basically, and then goes away. So that's Dinraal. Now that's all great, but so yeah, it appears here every morning. So the idea is place a campfire, like sleep at it. Dinraal appears, you jump off something, so you can jump off this ledge, you can jump off the skeleton itself. Then use your bow in midair so you have bullet time so it's nice and slow-mo. And then use a sniper bow, shoot it in the horn, poof, there you go. Its part will go flying. As soon as it goes flying, use the campfire again, make it morning again, and hopefully Dinraal will respawn. Now, in my experience, it seems kind of faulty, or he only respawns sometimes. I don't know why. I don't understand what the reasoning is for why he doesn't respawn. But regardless, this area seems kind of buggy. Sometimes he'll respawn every time. Other times he won't reappear until the next blood moon. Has been my experience personally. So, this area is just kind of okay. Sometimes I do it and he ends up being like, yeah, I get him like once. And other times I do it and I get it like 8 times in a row and it's great. So, I don't know why that is. So, farm there if you want to. I think it's just kind of an okay spot. The better spot for Dinraal is definitely over here at the Tabantha Great Bridge. So, how this works, rains here all the time, but go ahead and place a campfire like probably inside Tabantha Bridge Stable, because when it rains then it's not going to put out the fire. But make it morning, again, stand here, Dinraal will appear like over here or something like that, so it slowly flies through. It's a little bit longer, it's slower than up there in Elden, but it's pretty nice, and it's very consistent, so you can make him reappear. I think he reappears every time, guaranteed, I think. But yeah, just keep making it morning over and over again. Stand here. It takes him a little bit for him to, like, finally come around the corner and be visible, but it's not bad. Shoot him. His parts, unfortunately, will land, like, really obnoxious places. But make sure you can pin them. By the way, that's something else you can do. If you see them, go ahead and pin them like that with a colored one. It's temporary. And then quickly run back here and do this before. Don't stop and get the part. Instead, go back to the stable, make it morning again to make them reappear, and then do it again. So just keep doing that until you have a whole bunch of parts, then finally run and grab them. Good to go. So that would be my recommendation instead of it's better, more consistent. It's a little bit slower. It's not as quick as this, but this takes longer to get to, and it's more likely to break. So that's kind of the only other notable thing here, in my opinion. So next, I recommend you head north. There's this little area that has a bunch of these little hot springs, and they're super shallow and stuff. They're easy to work with, but in particular, notables here is there's some fireproof lizards and smotherwing butterflies. Now, just a quick note, smotherwing butterflies are only available between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., so you have to come at the right time of day. Also, just so you know, I feel like sometimes if you change the time of day in this exact area, like the area where you're going to find them, sometimes they just don't appear. So you have to like change the time of day somewhere else and then come here when it is that time of day, if that makes sense. So that being said, just make sure that it is daytime when you're around here, and then you can guarantee that there will be some smotherwing butterflies here. Smotherwing butterflies are just really hard to find. The easiest way to get them actually is to buy them from Beetle, from Wetland Stable and East Akala Stable. They only cost 10 rupees a piece, and he sells 3 at a time, which is pretty good. So if you go there every blood moon, you can just steadily stock up on them. So that's probably easiest. I'm just pointing this out because a lot of people struggle to find them in the first place, and so this is one of the places where they spawn. I would say this is probably like overall the third best place in the game to find them, other than buying them anyways. So it's an okay spot. I don't think it's amazing, but it's just kind of okay. But as long as we're passing through, we might as well grab some as long as we're here. So just keep an eye out for butterflies in particular, and make sure to take a picture of them. By the way, something else you can farm here too is just note that the red Lizalfos that are here in Death Mountain area in general will often drop Lizal Tri-Boomerangs. Now, I don't really think that's a super good item, but I know a lot of people really like them, so I'm just pointing it out in case it's an item that you want to get. So if you really like Lizal Tri-Boomerangs, just bear in mind that this is, Death Mountain in general, I would say, is the second best place, kind of, to get Lizal Tri-Boomerangs. More so because, not really because it's easy, like, you warp somewhere and then you gotta, like, travel to get them. So as far as time spent, I don't actually think it's all that efficient. However, you can get multiple of them. So if you go to a spot where there's, like, 5 Lizalfos and you kill them and get 5 of the Lizal Tri-Boomerangs, that's pretty good. So you can get a whole bunch of them really easily. It just takes a little bit to get there, a little bit of traveling. So yeah, I'd say this is like overall, just Death Mountain in general is like the second best place to get Lizal Tri-Boomerangs in the game, if you really want those weapons. Honestly though, more important than that by far is just the red Lizalfos tails. We need 30 of them to upgrade the Snowquill set at some point in the game, and you might as well do it now while it's convenient. I mean, we're walking through here anyways, so if you're walking past one and it's chasing after you, might as well just turn around and smack it with a Blizzard Rod, because it dies instantaneously anyways. It's super easy. You might as well. It drops a bunch of other really good monster parts that you can use to make elixirs regardless. But yeah, those Lizalfos tails I'd recommend that you keep, because you can use them to upgrade one of our armor sets. So next, work your way north until you finally reach Southern Mine. Now once you arrive, there is a single human here who's the one we want to talk to, and he has a side quest for us in which he is searching for 10 fireproof lizards. If you can bring them to him, then he will then give you a piece of the Flamebreaker armor, which will give us the fireproof buff permanently, which is awesome. Now, you should totally accept this quest. If you've been following along with me, you should easily already have 10 fireproof lizards, and it's not a problem, so we can just hand them over now. But real quick, I'm just going to show gathering them around here. This is the best place in the entire game to get fireproof lizards. If you don't have a picture of them yet, make sure you grab one real quick, because that makes sensing for them a little bit easier. Just so you know, a lot of the rocks around here also have fireproof lizards under them, even though you don't have a sensor going off for them. You can still lift up little rocks to grab fireproof lizards underneath them as well. But yeah, best place in the game to get fireproof lizards is just great. If you walk around with the stealth outfit, you can kind of walk up to them. You don't actually have to sneak, which is great. Makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, these guys will reappear every blood moon. We're going to need a total of 25, because we need 10 to give to Kima for his quest to get a free piece of the Flamebreaker set. It'll save us a lot of money. And then, also, we need another 15 to upgrade the Flamebreaker set as well. So, if you've been following along with me, like I had like 15 already anyway. So as long as we just find 10 here, that's all we really need to get all of the fireproof lizards we need for the entire game. So yeah, just wander around here and collect all the fireproof lizards. Remember that you can find them underneath rocks, so if you see any kind of darker colored rocks that you can pick up, be sure to do so, because there's probably a fireproof lizard underneath them. And I forgot to, there's several I walked past in this recording that now looking back on it, I realize I missed several potential fireproof lizards. Now, as another comment, there is a bunch of veins here that you can blow up or smack with a sledgehammer to get a bunch of extra goodies as well. All the ones here in this particular location are low quality, so you're not going to find anything super exciting here. But if you might as well as long as we're passing through. So once you've gathered enough, you want to return to Kima, hopefully before your fireproof buff wore off. I actually had like 10 minutes of it almost of duration, and I messed around a lot and explored and got some things, and I totally had more than enough duration to do all this stuff and complete his quest, no problem. So as a result, he'll give us the Flamebreaker armor. Unfortunately, it is the cheapest of the various armor pieces of the Flamebreaker set, so that's kind of sad, but oh well, whatever. So at least we got one of the things out of the way, so we saved some rupees by doing this. Of course, at the same time though, if you're really good at making rupees, especially if you're farming for dragon parts, you can make a lot of rupees in a very short period of time, so who cares if it costs like 900 rupees plus or whatever. You know, you can make that in no time at all. You know, oh, I spent like a minute and I got enough rupees to do that, as opposed to hunting for fireproof lizards. But anyways, yeah, we're going to need 15 more lizards in order to upgrade them, so just make sure you have that much. Now next, I'd highly recommend you set Smotherwing butterflies to your scanning target, because we're going to find them up ahead. So what I'm doing is I changed the time of day to morning, which was actually a mistake because morning is 5 a.m. We need it to actually be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we need the area to be reset around that time. So I actually should have set it to afternoon is what I should have done. Also, I used a campfire. However, I shouldn't have done that because there was a nearby cooking pot and I could have just used that. Fun fact about it is all the stuff here will catch on fire automatically, including chew jelly. If you toss down any kind of chew, whether it's regular or elemental, it will then turn into red chew jelly if you do it anywhere in these overly hot areas where it requires the fireproof buff. So at this point, I put on the one piece of the Flamebreaker armor that I have, because this will give me the fireproof buff, because my duration on my elixir is about to wear off. Now, just so you know, there are actually 2 tiers of the fireproof buff necessary, just like it is for the elemental stuff for hot and cold. Works the exact same way for fireproof. So you need 1 piece of Flamebreaker armor to get level rank 1 fireproof, and then you need 2 pieces of the armor to get rank 2 of the Flame Guard or whatever. The reason for upgrading your set completely, by the way, just so you know, if you get all 3 pieces of the Flamebreaker set upgraded to 2-star, then what'll happen, or higher, then what'll happen is it makes you completely immune to all fire damage. So you can just walk through fire, and enemies that breathe fire and stuff don't hurt you at all. It does make some kind of puzzles in this game interesting, because you can like completely ignore flames entirely and just walk right through them, which means you can bypass certain parts of the puzzle that normally you wouldn't have to. Or yeah, normally things that you would have to avoid and be really careful of, you can just walk right through it with that armor, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, what I'm doing on screen is I'm kind of just wandering back and forth, trying to follow my sensor to find some of these Smotherwing butterflies. However, I think I'm not even really sure why my sensor's going off, because they're only out between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and I'm currently way too early. It's like 6 a.m., so they're not out here right now. So I messed it up, and I didn't realize that at the time during this recording, so I kind of wandered around a lot and wasted my time. But anyways, you want to continue on north, just following the road, working your way towards Goron Village. You can kill some of the Red Lizalfos along the way, and some of the Octoroks as such, but there's not really that many enemies along the obvious path, and we can't take our horse here because it's too hot. Our horse will burst into flame, so they don't let us do that. So next what I'm doing is I'm heading towards Goron City, which is to the northeast. Now this road in between Southern Mine and Goron City is the best place in the entire game to farm for Smotherwing butterflies. Now, as I was explaining just a little bit ago, though, they are only available between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and so it's still 7 a.m. in my game, so I'm way too early. So I was actually, when I was recording this and streaming it, people were telling me that too. They were like, oh, you realize you're here at the wrong time of day, right? I was like, what? What do you mean? So anyways, I didn't realize that at the time. But I am actually seeing a couple Smotherwing butterflies here, just not very many. I was surprised, because usually I see somewhere between like, I don't know, 4 and like 8 of them is usually what I find when I run through here. And so that was sad, because there was way less than that. So I was kind of shocked that I did not see a lot of them. I'd say this is the best place in the game, and also probably Darunia Lake, which is north of here. We'll eventually have access to that here in a little bit. Darunia Lake is like, okay, there's lots of enemies around there. The problem with the butterflies is they get scared off by other things, and that's one of the most frustrating things about them. They're like one of the most rare things to find in the game, and they're really hard, they're awkward to get, and they're out of the way and stuff, but they're usually near enemies or near critters, and you get too close to those ostrich things, and they scare them off, and then it's all for nothing. It's just awful. So I really dislike that. Anyways, so that being said, as far as another thing that scares them off too is sound. Now I am wearing the Flamebreaker armor, the chest piece, and I'm actually not entirely sure about this. I think that different armor pieces make different levels of noise, and I think that the Flamebreaker set is one of the loudest ones in the entire game. So this chest piece is making a lot of noise, which makes it hard to sneak up on the enemy. So as far as just collecting the Smotherwing butterflies, I would be better off, actually, just in general, just wearing the full stealth set and like just burning to death for a second, or because it takes a little bit before the fire damage actually kicks in anyways. But also you can just wear that fireproof elixir. I have an extra one in my inventory. I just didn't use it. But if you're going to be hunting for them, if you're going to see a lot, I kind of gave up on it in this recording. I was like, whatever. I'm not having good luck with these guys anyways, and I'm already almost at the end of the road, so whatever, I'll just deal with it. But it would be nicer if you're going to run through here to have the fireproof buff and wear the full stealth outfit instead. Would make it a lot easier to sneak up on these butterflies. But yeah, I was in this recording, I was here at the wrong time of day. Another quick note about that, I'm not 100% sure about this either. I think that in order for them to all appear, though, you have to reload the area. So I could use a campfire where I'm standing right now to change it to noon to guarantee that the butterflies poof appear, or I could continue on and then get the warp point for Goron City for that shrine, and then I could warp to the shrine to reset the area and then just go right back to the road. And that would be a way that I could do that. I think it's easier just overall just to get the Goron City warp point as soon as possible and then just come back here every once in a while and just every blood moon and then just try them real quick. So that'd be one way you could grab them. Overall, the fastest way to get them by far is to just buy them from Beetle. Now, just so you know, Beetle sells different things at different locations. So he's found at various stables. And so if you go to specific locations, he sells different things. And he sells Smotherwing butterflies, 3 each, for 10 rupees a piece. So you can spend 30 rupees at one and 30 rupees at another. He sells them at the Wetland stable and the East Akala stable. So if you just warp there every blood moon, you can get 6 of them. You just do that a couple times and you get all the ones you need. Now, in order to get enough for all of the upgrades in the game, we need 24. So you just do that 4 times total or whatever, and you guarantee that you have all the ones you need for all the upgrades in the game. But yeah, I just wanted to spend some time talking about Smotherwing butterflies because it's one of the hardest ingredients to get in the game, and a lot of people are confused about where to find them and such. So this is the best place. Otherwise, Darunia Lake to the north. In the middle is pretty good. The problem is they get scared away from enemies and stuff. It's just bad. It's just awkward. And then meanwhile, around that crater as well, just all along the outside, that's a pretty decent spot, although they're really far and few between and stuff, so it's kind of hard to get, but rather, it's really time-consuming, so that's okay. The best way by far is just to go ahead and buy them from Beetle. So again, you get them from East Akala Stable as well as Wetland Stable. And so those two, you spend 10 rupees a piece, so 240 rupees is all it takes to get all the Smotherwing butterflies you need in the game. Dude, so cheap. Just do it! So now here we are in Goron City. There's a bunch of side quests you can accept if you want. I'm not going to mess with those right now. I want to save all that for a later video. Right now, I just wanted to get the warp point here as soon as possible and give you the Flamebreaker armor, so you at least had some fire resistance or whatever, so you can explore in the Goron area if you want to. But anyways, now that we have access here, we have a warp point, everything's great. Now, one other quick highlight, as long as we're here, though, is there is a chest nearby that contains a sapphire. This one's just really close and convenient. It's super easy to get to, and that's worth 260 rupees if you wanted to sell it. I would actually highly recommend you don't, though. I would recommend that you hang on to this, because we're going to be using it to upgrade some of our armor here pretty quickly, actually. We almost are at the point where we can upgrade our armor super great, and I'm going to be, because here's the thing. We have all these warp locations, so I'm going to tell you exactly where to go to be bam, 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 get all the ingredients you need, and you can just upgrade all your stuff to rank 3 or 4, and just boom, done. You go from rank 1 armor to rank 3 or 4 in every category. It's awesome. Now, I am not going to actually do the shrine right now. I'm going to get the warp location just so we have access to it, but I'm not going to actually do the shrine right now because there's some fun tricks you can do if you can upgrade your Flamebreaker armor to 2-star, because then you have complete fire immunity, so you don't take damage when you walk through fire, and that allows you to do some funny things in the shrine that's kind of fun. So I want to show that, so I'm going to stall actually until I have that armor. You don't have to do that, though. If you want to do the shrine right now, go for it, whatever. You know what I actually need is a Flamebreaker saddle and bridle, right? Because I keep setting my horse on fire on accident. It's the ongoing meme of this walkthrough, by the way. It's I didn't mean to set my horse on fire, honest. In all seriousness, though, I'm actually really paranoid about my horse dying because it only has 2 strength, but it has 5 speed, so it's a really fast horse, but it has no health at all. So I've been panicky every time I see an enemy. I'm oh, get off the horse, quick! But apparently my horse's worst nightmare is actually me, so there's that. But anyway, horses aside, we now have our warp point here in Goron City, so we can get back here whenever we want. Nice. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.